Hi friends, I hope you're doing great. As in for me, my scooter broke after I used it like 10 times, so definitely this November is not treating me good. But since I've passed the point of no return and I live in insanity, I'm not even surprised anymore of which strange thing will happen to me next. I'm fine. Yes, fine. Anyway, unpredictable events aside, I'm doing okay. Last month I started making some prints of the fan arts I've done for Love and Deep Space, and I'm very happy that people got interested enough to request them to me. I probably would have never made them if it wasn't for the multiple requests that I received. So yes, I'm very happy. Said so, I'm happy to introduce you to today's topic. In today's episode of Learn Something New with Shuika, a name I just made up, we're going to learn how to give more interest to our portraits thanks to different light placement. I wanted to show you two light and shadow placements and an additional third one that is a little less intuitive for beginners, I believe, maybe. And so because it has not only one light source but two, one soft and one hard. The subject is going to be a fluctuant head facing the front. The only change will be the light source intensity and direction. The first example is the easier one you can find and usually works very well with portraiture. For the first subject, the light is coming from the top right, so we have to keep in mind the volumes of the head to place the shadows. The critical points we should pay attention to are the eye region, which is going to be in shadow due to the forehead being prominent and casting a shadow there, and the left side of the face, which is going to be divided from the light due to the nose. You want to pay attention in following the volumes and shapes of these areas. So do not draw a straight line unless you're going for something different than semi-realism and realism. The most evident example is on the chin, where the shadow follows the shape of it and it curves. Another one is the slight curve on the nose. I create my mixture of color and I'm ready to go. I begin with the eye on the right and I paint the whole region where the eye socket is. I don't paint the eye though, which I can leave white for simplification, but eventually you could add a subtle shadow going from left to right. Following the contour of the shadow we drew before, I begin by placing the color. This is going to be a harsh shadow, so no need to blend the line. Again, if your style is more realistic than mine, adapt this knowledge to it and make sure to give it a little smudgy smudge, but subtle. One thing to notice while you paint is that the nearest point to the light is going to be the darkest part of our shadow, which will be progressively lighter as we reach the left part of the face. This is due mostly to the reflective light that, jumping from the right to the surfaces and the ambient around the subject, reflects on it, giving the illusion of another light source. Does it make sense? I hope it does. Well, there's another video I made about light and shadow and how they work, so if you're unsure about this mechanic, I advise you to watch it again. Then we do the same for the neck, the forgotten neck. And we're ready to finish the first layer going on top of the face. On the forehead, the mechanic is a little different, so no more hard edges. We're going to make a blend from left to right, making the color fade away as it reaches the right side where the light source is. Ah, and let's not forget the ears. Geez, I always forget the ears. I dry everything with my hair dryer and with a mixture of the previous color plus Indian red, so make it a little bit darker, I enhance the shadows of the eyes. I also pull the color down in the line that divides light and shadow, so on the nose basically, making sure to blend it a bit. I also add some depth on the nose area working with this mixture and even on the lips, especially the top one. I do the same on the chin, where the bottom of the lip is, and the neck. I also decide to add some lighter and blended shadow on the right cheek, below the eye, and to reinforce some other details. Alright, the first example is done. Was it that difficult? It wasn't, right? Then for the second phase, we're going to set our light source directly on top of it. So we're having a very dramatic light with a twist. I've seen this type of shadow in anime/manhwa type of illustrations, and I honestly like it very much, as it can set a pretty unsettling mood and a very expressive one. So the main shadow is going to cover all the face from below the eyebrows, paying attention to respect the volumes of it, going down to the chin but leaving a blank spot, which is going to be on the tip of the nose. Bigger or smaller, up to you. You can drop in some color around this area since we said that the part of the shadow near the light is darker, so by adding the color you give this illusion. Later you can also do it wet on dry, and that's what I will personally do. To be honest, if I had to go back and make it again, I will make the spot a tad bigger than how I did here. But I mean, I can always use gouache. Same as before, the eye region is going to be the darkest part of the face, and as it goes down, it becomes lighter. To do so, start applying the mixture on the paper and from time to time dip your brush into clean water. Shake it a little bit, not too much because you don't want all the pigment to go away. Then you can dry it a bit and then drag the color down. Pay attention to the white spot on the nose and create a smooth blend until the chin, where you'll eventually add more pigmented mixture and create the shadow of the head given by the light placement. Once everything is dried, I go back to the eye region and I darken it. But I also add some volume to the cheek and nose bridge. I dry everything and next I paint the lips and neck. If I had to be more accurate about this example and so more realistic, I will add a subtle shadow that fades from the top of the brows, leaving a bit of white below, upwards, fading towards the top of the forehead. You can, no one is stopping you. Now for our third example, the big boy, things are going to get a little bit more complicated. We'll have two light sources, one harder and one a little softer. Imagine you're in your room and you have the ambient light as a base. Now, add a secondary light source which can be of a lamp or the light coming from the window, which is more intense. I begin by placing the shadow derived from the hard light on the left, and so I contour it like follows. I draw a line where the shadow begins following the contour of the face, and I also want to leave a dot on the side of the nose, since the light coming from the left can ideally reach the most prominent part of the face, so the nose. And then I stop the shadow. Okay, I stop it at the nose profile. So basically I split the head in two. Now, what happens to the second half of the face, you may wonder? Light is coming from there, and it's a little more diffused, meaning that we'll have the lightest part of the face on the right side gradually darkening as it reaches the nose. Yet, being aware that since the nose has a volume, the right side, okay, the right side of the nose can pick up the light coming from that direction. So we have light on the right, progressively dark, and then you leave a blank spot on the side of the nose. I hope it's understandable. Well, you'll see anyway. For the eye socket, it's relatively easy since we did it before, and yeah, they're in the shadow, no much change. And for the chin, you simply follow the contour of the face. Now, let's color. We're going to keep the edges of the shadow on the left darker compared to the middle of it, kind of boxing it. On the forehead, we're going to blend it more since it meets the diffuse light, yet keeping an hard edge on the eyebrow area. So later we're going to contour the eye socket better. Keeping in mind what we said for the nose, okay, that we're going to leave the blank spot, we're dragging down the shadow, blend it towards the right side of the face, and yet you want to keep the nose side clean. You can also add some lightest shadows according to the structure of the face, so underneath the eye, on the cheek, on the mouth, and where you see basically that it needs, eventually dropping in some color to deepen the contrast. I dry everything, God bless, and since I want more contrast, I also add some color here and there to reinforce the volumes of the face. Then I add the forgotten neck and ears, and I'm practically done. You just saw 3 light and shadow patterns that you can apply to your paintings to give them more interest. This month I'll publish a video in which together we will draw a colored piece, so no more monochromatic. So if you're interested, make sure to check my Patreon for extra juicy content. Alright, I hope this helped you, and if you find my content interesting and you would like to learn more about portraits, drawing, and watercolor, make sure to follow me. And if you plan on recreating these exercises, let me know. Again, if you want, you can also show me by tagging me on your Instagram stories. It will be a pleasure to check what you did. Alright, From me, it's all. I'll go back to baking banana bread because murder is illegal.
Bye bye.